everybody. Welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're talking today, and we're talking about COVID. We have Cindy Duet, is the Vice President of Ancillary Services over at Taborn General Health Systems, and thanks for being here. Not under great circumstances, right? You know, a lot of us kind of forgot about COVID when the storm hit. COVID didn't forget about us, right? So no. We're setting records every day. You guys are going through, set up the testing areas over there, and go through some numbers. I guess prior, you know, we had gotten down to like 400 or 500 a week, and those numbers are being blown away right now.
Right. So we've gone through various waves of COVID. We're kind of calling this the COVID tsunami. On a normal testing week, throughout COVID, we would normally test around 500 or 600 people in a week. Right before Ida hit, people, I don't know if you remember, but Delta was really bad in the area. We had a lot of people hospitalized with COVID. The hospital was almost full of COVID people when Ida hit. And at that point, we were testing about 1,200 people a week. Since we've come back from Christmas, however, in the last week alone, we've tested over 1,400 people for COVID in a 7-day period.
Now, and what's the positivity rate? Because I imagine this is also a time of year where we're having these roller coasters of temperatures, right? So people are getting sick, probably, oh my God, do I have COVID?
Right.
But we also been getting together with Ida, people cohabitating, obviously families for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So what's our positivity rate?
So we keep track of our own test results at the hospital just to kind of give us a day-to-day basis of where we are. Our current positivity rate, looking over the last few days, is almost 40%. So you could say 4 out of every 10 tests that we do are coming back positive.
So it's not just people with sniffles, right?
It's not just people with 40%. Sniffles. That may be their symptom signs, kind of looks like a cold, but a cold, excuse me, but the majority, those 40%, 4 out of 10 tests are coming back positive.
Wow. And we were talking, so you don't know if it's the Omicron variant yet. You don't know that when you do the immediate test, right?
No, you don't. So what happens is the testing we do at the hospital, which is you get your results the same day, and we use the PCR kind of test, which is more sensitive and more accurate than maybe an at-home test. But what happens, I'm sorry, I forgot the question already.
Oh, no, just that we don't know if it's the Omicron.
No, you don't know, right. So I'm sorry. So we have our test. The state requests a certain percentage of our positive tests, and they do genetic sequencing on those tests, and they can tell if it's Omicron, Delta, or even a new and emerging variant. But it takes about 2 weeks to sequence that out, so by the time somebody would actually know if it was Omicron, they'd probably be well on their way to recovery. It doesn't currently change our treatment methods or anything we would do, so we can't tell you if it's Omicron, Delta, or the original variant of COVID. We can just tell you if you have COVID.
Right, and do you have a demographic? Has that changed over who's testing positive?
Yes, so prior to Ida, the guidance from the state was that our majority of our variant in the area was Delta, COVID Delta, and now we're seeing that it's COVID Omicron.
Right. No, but I'm sorry. Is it a bunch of kids that are going to school, or is it older folks?
It's all over the place. We've had patients test positive as young as 3 months, 12 weeks, all the way up until, I think we had a patient over 100 test positive. So it's kind of all over the place. Right. The large majority of people who are getting tested right now seem to be in a younger age demographic, and maybe just due to socialization, being out in the public. You know, the mask mandate was lifted. But in this current wave, your best mode of protection is indeed to wear a mask, regardless of anyone's vaccination status.
Right. And I should know this, but are you guys open? I mean, everything's up and running over there?
Yeah, we have all the services up and running that we had pre-Ida. We may have to ask your patients in a few areas because not quite up to 100% capacity, but very, very close. Right. And all services are up and running.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those services. So you guys have the drive-through testing now. So tell me a little bit about that, and do you have enough tests?
Yeah, so the drive-through testing center is really kind of unique. We don't know of any other organization that has a dedicated building purely for drive-through services. We offer vaccinations, and we're offering COVID testing. We currently have plenty supply of tests. There's a bit of a wait in the car line, as you can imagine, to get the, to drive through, get registered, and have the test performed. But we have capacity and we have testing
Where
capabilities.
are we still in 2 different places or just one now?
We're in one location. We are at the corner of Main and Liberty Street. It's called our Terrebonne General Health System Drive-Through Center.
Right at the bridge, right?
Right by the bridge, yep.
So you can see the bridge. If you go by there, it's right below the bridge.
Correct.
Is where that section,
Correct.
where it's a parking lot over there.
Correct.
So what should people know if they're not feeling good? What are the symptoms? What are they looking for in that?
All right, so everybody wants to know when they need to get tested. If you've not been vaccinated and you've had an exposure, the CDC recommends you get tested as soon as possible, and then again on day 5. If you have been vaccinated and you've been exposed, you're okay, and they just recommend the test at day 5.
And if there's a problem with that. So some people were trying to do take-home tests, and they were worried they weren't getting it from the pharmacies. You guys have it, and what's the protocol for going through there?
So the protocol for going through there, the best method is for you to get an order from your own primary care physician and then call to pre-register and schedule. It makes the process go a little faster.
Just drive up.
We are taking just drive up, so we're trying not to turn anyone away, but when you just drive up without pre-calling or registering, it slows the whole process down for everyone, yourself and anyone who's behind you. So we ask that you call 858-7777 to go ahead and get the pre-registration process out of the way so that it's a lot quicker when you show up.
Yeah, almost like the vaccine was like that. You made a little schedule, but those things were, and I'm sure they're still doing it, right?
Right.
And those things move very
Just like
very
anything
quick.
else, if you pre-order your food at Chick-fil-A, it's a lot faster than if you just show up and order, correct?
What's a typical way somebody can come over there and get information from you guys?
Information regarding COVID?
Yeah.
Okay, so the best.
And a test.
Yeah, and a test. So a test, you call your provider, you get an order, and then you call the 858-7777 number to get pre-registered and done. There's information about COVID in general on our Terrebonne General Health System website, which is tghealthsystem.com, and there's a wealth of information on the CDC website, which is cdc.gov. But for talking about COVID and to helping to stem this current wave or tsunami, whichever word you want to use for it, 3 things. Mask, especially indoors, right now would be a great method of protection for everybody. Vaccines, of course, have been proven safe and effective. A large majority of our people who are positive or unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated. And then the third thing, of course, is testing and isolation and or quarantine, depending on, your symptoms or, if you've been vaccinated or not.
Yeah, I seem to think that a lot of people now think it's inevitable, and look, I had a hit, and it was one of the worst things that ever happened to our area in a long time. I think a lot of people just went, I'm done with this. I got to take care of my life right now.
Right.
We obviously are seeing a little boost from that, right? We talked about some people had to move in together.
Right.
People over the holidays were just like, I'm going on with my life. We still need to start taking those precautions.
We do need to take precautions. It's a balance, just like anything else in life, risk versus reward. And while Omicron right now currently seems to be pretty mild, and for the large majority of people doesn't cause a problem, what it is doing is taxing every business, of which healthcare is one, right? So more people seeking care, more people needing testing, more people visiting the emergency room for a test, which if that's the only reason you're coming to the emergency room, that's not your best utilization of an emergency room. So just like any other business, Omicron and this wave is affecting everyone. And so the more things that we can put into place to stem the tide or to have it lessen the need at one time, although I think we might be a little late out of the gate for that, it is helpful.
And I've heard some people even say Omicron, this might help with herd immunity down the road. Everybody's not too bad. We don't know that yet, right? I mean, it seems to have been milder.
Right.
It seems like the hospital's handling everything.
Right.
Hospitalizations are down. But the numbers now, if it follows, we just don't know if it's going to follow.
Right. So if it's a less severe disease, but more people get it, you still can have the same number of admissions that you had before that taxes the system, right? It's a numbers game. And we don't know for a fact that Omicron is going to stay less severe.
Right.
We do know for a fact that if you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you are at less risk for being hospitalized,
Right.
dying, or having a long-term bad side effect.
Yeah.
That's what we do know. The other stuff is hindsight. It would be great to be, everyone wants to believe Omicron is not terrible, and myself included, right? We've been doing this for almost 2 years. But you still got to have a level of suspicion until we have enough data to actually support and to know what we know.
Yeah, no. So
That's the frustrating thing about COVID. I think people go, everything changes day to day, and they're right, because when you have something that's novel and new, as you learn more about it, you have to change your protocols, your practices, and your treatment patterns, which is why it's constantly evolving, and every variant brings a different flavor to everything.
Right. And look, one of the reasons it hadn't been as rough as before, because a lot of people are vaccinated or have natural immunity, and it's the second time they've gotten it. So hopefully that'll help down the road. But we've kind of behind on vaccination.
That is my wish as well. And when you talk about hospitalizations, if you look at the data, hospitalizations across the state are creeping up. We're back over 1,200. We had gotten down as low as 200.
Right. Yeah, I remember 400 or 500 was like the magic number.
Right.
It's creeping up. So how many tests are you doing a day now? You said about 1,400?
That's in a week.
It's a month. Yeah, a week.
Well, we were doing about 1,400 a week. Right now, on a daily basis, we're approaching 400.
Right.
Which is a lot.
That is. Now, are people, we just talked about our area in particular, we were kind of on the lower end of vaccination.
Right.
Are some people not getting vaccinated and just coming in for tests all the time? And again, taking up supplies maybe from somebody else?
So we do see some people who get tested for events or for travel, depending on the restrictions of where they're going is. Whether they're vaccinated or not, we don't really have that kind of data, but I would think if you're coming to get tested for an event, you don't have a vaccine card, so I would assume that you're unvaccinated. Right. We do see a handful of those. Those are not the majority. Right now, the majority of what we're testing is people who have been exposed or people who have symptoms that could be COVID.
Okay, so we're coming up about a minute to go. So one more time, which the best way to come and schedule your test?
The best way to get your test is to call whoever takes care of you on a daily basis and get an order for the COVID test, and then call 858-7777 to schedule and pre-register. It just makes the process go faster for everyone in the line. We do have a couple of workarounds for people who don't have a primary care physician or can't make the appointment, but without those in place, it just takes longer to get through the line.
Right. And we do have most of our elderly. I think our numbers are decent there. So, Cindy, thanks so much.
You're quite welcome.
The fight that just won't go away, right? 2
That's
years
what
and
it
counting,
feels like, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a couple of Januaries ago, we were going, what's that going on in China? And now it's
Exactly.
still
Approaching
here.
the 2-year mark.
All right. Well, Cindy Duet, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be back with more Bayou Time right after this.